Hey, so already, what's up, y'all? Motorcycle therapy time, because I got to crank out a couple more videos before the end of the season, and because I actually have something to talk about. Let's see. Today's topic will be how far back, right? Like, how far back can you remember? I'm in a form of therapy now. There's all different types of therapy. You know, you got family stuff, you got physical stuff, you got emotional stuff. Like, there's therapists that have their individual niches, and I am currently in like a relationship, like a marriage counselor, a person that specialty is relationship stuff, like family or marriage or long-term relationship is just where my dice landed for this time, right? So, but in most therapy sessions that I've been in, unfortunately, I can have multiple to relate to. They ask you like, oh, when did this start? Like, when did this start? I'm like, I don't know sometimes. And then it just made me think, like, how far back do people remember? Like, I hear stories about, oh, when I was a kid and this, that, and the other happened, and somebody will be like, oh, when I was a fetus, my dad yelled at the stomach, and I'm like, bitch, get, like, you can't remember that far back, bro. Like, maybe you can, I just, I don't believe it. And sometimes I don't necessarily remember what triggered a emotion or a feeling or the event. I just remember the feelings around the event, and then sometimes stuff will just start fading back into memory, like, oh, like, I don't think I've ever been traumatized, because they say people, you litter bug ass bitch, they say people, you block out memories. I don't think I've ever done that. I don't know, because if the shit's blocked out, how would I know? It's just like those FBI files where you just read a line, it's just redacted. I don't know what's there if I blocked it out, but I don't think I've done that. I think I had a pretty okay childhood. I had strict parents. I had 4 parents growing up. I had stepmom, stepdad, mom, dad. I had 2 stepmoms. One unfortunately passed away from cancer. And then I had a second stepmom, and my dad had some girlfriends in between, like, whatever. But for the most part, I had a pretty solid base. I had people that cared about me, people that looked out for me. However, there's a few moments in life where I feel it may have shaped more of the relationship thing that I have now. Like, I don't know why I put such importance on relationships. Like, I've been yelled at my whole life. I've been cussed at. I've been cussed out. I've been put on punishment. I never been like beat. I got my ass whooped. Because, sometimes kids be bad, but I wasn't that bad. I've been reprimanded, corrected. My stepdad was a World War II. He's a Vietnam vet, gruff dude, legs broke, shot at, jumped out of planes. He's been punctured, injured, shot. He's been through some shit, and he's a tough old dude. So he had me doing, hospital, military corners, making my bed, cleaning up under the bed, all kind of real stuff that most kids don't learn until basic training. They in there flipping out, and I'm in there laughing like, you a bitch, bro. Like, this is just, we doing chores, and we get paid, and we got to go to school. Like, what are you crying about? I didn't take to that stuff to where it affected me in a negative way. However, some of those positives don't come out without the negatives, right? Like, my feelings were never really taken into account with me, my stepdad, my mom, my dad. I think because now that I'm trying to remember stuff, I'm like, yo, there was a time where I was living in my old hood. We were getting ready to move in with my stepdad, and I told my mama, I don't want to move in with that man. I think that might have been the first time I ever really, like, stood up for myself. Pretty sure I was about 13ish, and I was like, yo, I don't like this dude. He mean. He scares me, blah, 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 whatever I was saying. And my mom basically was like, yeah, suck it up. And I don't remember what she said, but I know she didn't address my issue. Whether that was going to change anything, that's neither here nor there. It didn't, obviously. Moved in with him. Life was the way life was. I learned some lessons, and I was like, I felt bad. Like, you're not listening to me. You're not doing, you didn't even try to make me feel better. It was just basically like, it is what it is kind of deal. And then, I got older, and I started becoming a little more wiser, I guess, for my age, and I started articulating myself more. This man made me read the dictionary, so I don't get why parents don't respect their kids' intelligence, for one, and then also expect them to be intelligent, but dumb enough to fall for shit and not explain themselves or be able to articulate how they feel. Maybe read the dictionary, bro. Now I know words, so I'm trying to tell you, hey, this situation makes me uncomfortable. This is how I feel on the inside. And they were basically like, yeah, good. Grow up. My stepdad used to call me a blockhead all the time. It's because if I did something stupid or something he didn't approve of, it was stupid in his eyes, and that was offensive. And I was offended, and I said that. And it was kind of one of those, you're a kid, shut up, do what you're supposed to do. Cool. Grew up that way. Didn't really bother me, which I guess is why I can take orders so well in the military. it's one of those things where I was conditioned that way and it never was a thing. People were yelling in basic training. I was looking at them like, bro, I've been through more than this at the age of 8 to 12. I'm good. What I don't know, or why it happened, is why the relationship side of my life is such a big sore spot for me. Like, you'd figure if somebody was to yell at me, I'd flip out, or somebody was to tell me to do something I didn't want to do, I'd flip out. Nah, I can do those things. Now I just started thinking about, like, oh yeah, maybe when I was growing up, maybe let's focus on my dad some, because I got abandonment issues with my dad, because he basically cut me out of his life when I was 29 and didn't talk to him for 12 years, and then when he does talk to me, it's on some bullshit. That's just a surface level thing, right? Like, I want it to be deeper, but he's never really addressed the issue, and I'm still waiting on that, because that's a topic for another video. Anyway, I'm like, yo, maybe that was it. Maybe it was the fact that he didn't come to my graduation, which I talked about before. Maybe it was the fact that when I was telling him, hey, my stepbrothers are doing some weird shit, nobody listened to my feelings. Nobody really addressed what I was feeling. They was like, yeah, you the older one, you know, you're just gonna have to suck it up, and you just have to do. No, fuck that. When you grow up and when you do better, when you get older, and when you go to these therapy things, and when you see these positive affirmation videos, and they go, well, the little kid inside of you looks at you, you're the parent that kid needed when you were little. Yeah, great. Fuck that. My parents should have been the parents I needed when I was little. No, I take that. It is a very positive note, and I apply that to my child. I want to be the parent that I have for my child, but I also need to be the parent that my child needs me to be, because that's what people do. They try to undo what their parents did and fuck up their kids by going too far in one direction. Or they are exactly their parents and they refuse to admit that they're their parents, and then they fuck up their kids in another direction. So I take all of that into account, and then I talk to my child. I realized I was being more of my parent than I wanted to be years and years ago. And I cut that shit, I nipped that in the bud real quick. I'm my own parenting style now. I don't know if this is good or bad. I don't know if the results I want from my child growing up is going to be positive. I'm hoping so. She's leaning that way, but I can only hope and pray and continue to improve in my parenting style and ask my child for feedback. Am I fucking up as a dad? Yes, I'll take everything she says with a grain of salt, but I'm going to accept her input. Something that was never given or afforded to me as a child. I'm trying to remember all this stuff, and I'm like, yeah, there's a couple instances where, you know, it's kids. Sometimes you're a kid, you need to shut the fuck up. Child needs to stay in the child's place. However, child also needs to be listened to by their parents. They don't need to have their feelings ignored or revoked or made to feel like they're inadequate or they don't apply to a situation. Sometimes they don't, but you still need to address it with the subject matter, with the audience, the child themselves. Like, and now when I'm in relationships, I'm like, yo, I tell you this is my feelings, and you don't do shit about it, or you straight fucking disappear like my dad did or like my ex did. I'm like, why do I talk about these things? Why do I open myself up to these things? And why do they hurt me so bad? It's because I've been chasing that my whole fucking life. I think that's what I'm relating these things to, because whatever reason, I just can't seem to cut this attachment to this need, right? Like, I could just be cold and callous and not give a shit, but that's not me. That's not my authentic self, which is another video topic. I'm really trying to figure out how far back, like, all of these things affect me now. It's like everything else. Like, people say, oh, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. Sometimes that shit ain't necessarily true. What doesn't kill you could actually make you a lot weaker, or it could make you fatigued. I was telling a friend of mine about this the other day. It's like bending a wire back and forth. It was strong, and after a while, let's get tired of bending. Or, let's put it in a way like this. Say my original foundation is fucked because my emotional needs weren't met as a child, right? Nobody created this safe space. People make fun of that now, but it's a real thing, and you don't have to say it that way, but nobody made me feel safe as a child to be able to come to them and leave with a resolution, or at least leave feeling like they gave a shit. Not that I can remember. Some people did, but maybe it wasn't the people that I wanted to. Like, if my brother or my sister did that, I'm like, cool, but I want this from my mom. I want this from my dad. So the impact is different, right? So say my foundation, the cracks are, you know, the emotional thing. And now, anytime I get in a relationship and somebody drip feeds me emotional shit, it's slowly eating away at the base, just like a slow leak in your tire, or drip at the foundation of your home. All of a sudden, y'all got all these cracks, right? And all this stuff starts to seep through. And then all of a sudden, boom, cave in, flood. What the fuck? It's the only thing I can really think to compare it to, because, yeah, some stuff doesn't happen when you're a kid. Something you can have a perfect life and you can grow up to be a great adult, and then stuff starts happening as you're an adult, which is what I thought it was. I'm thinking, oh yeah, as I grew up, my adult relationships are really failing, and this emotional stuff and this ghosting shit is really starting to get to me. But nah, I'm thinking it's really dripping into a crack in my foundation for my parents not being there for me emotionally the way that I needed them to be. And yeah, I'm tough and I can deal with a lot of stuff in life now, and that's great. Maybe I'm better off for it. Maybe I'm not. However, a lot of the positives I have come with a shit ton of negatives, and I'm trying my best not to pass that on to my daughter. I will not be the parent that I was. I will not be the husband that my dad was. I will not be. I'm definitely not gonna be the wife that my mama was. No, sir. I'm not doing that sleeping in separate rooms shit. I don't agree with the don't go to bed angry. Like, you can work stuff out, but sometimes you can go to bed angry. Sometimes you need to sleep on some stuff. Bring your angry ass over here and cuddle up next to me and go to sleep, and then we'll talk about it later. My mom and my stepdad have been sleeping in separate rooms for years. Fuck that. I understand needing your own space. I understand needing some space from your partner sometimes, but that's just something I can't deal with, because that's not what I want to do. I need to have something where we can come back together no matter what the situation, and then we can work on the other stuff later. But we need something where it's just always separate. And I'm just coming from Mr. Non all the time touchy-feely, Mr. Lone Wolf, Mr. I live and I do stuff, and hermit and introvert. But if you're my person, there's boundaries that I now refuse to, well, not that I've had to deal with them before, but that's stuff that I implement and I don't want to be in my future. I don't want to be the parent that's always leaning on my kid and expecting them to be taking care of me at a certain age. Nah. If stuff happens, great. But if I'm 45, 50, asking my kid for money, 60, 70 years old, making badass decisions, not doing that. I'm not stressing my kid out with worrying about me in that format or in that capacity. No. I'm not going to be the kid or the parent that's stressing my kid out. I was intimidated well into my 30s by my stepdad. And it wasn't like, oh, I'm afraid of him. It was completely involuntary. I would go over the house and I would start getting like, I would start breathing a little faster. I'm like, what the fuck? Like, I'm grown. Why does this dude intimidate me? His presence intimidated me. He didn't, like I said, he didn't beat me, he didn't do that to me, but whatever psychological effect he had during my rearing, my upbringing, I still basically feared this man. Like, yo, my roommate ain't clean. Something ain't right. He gonna say something about this. When his motorcycle used to pull up to the house, or when his truck used to pull up to the house, I used to, oh shit, let me run into make sure and it just created this anxiousness inside of me, and I dealt with that well into my 30s. I don't want my daughter to feel that for me ever, and I still don't know the reason why I felt that way. Still trying to figure that out, because again, he wasn't like super mean. He was intimidating. He was a little domineering, a little bit overbearing for me. And then maybe because I always remembered that my mom wasn't going to save me. She wasn't going, God damn, did I just... That's why I get my ain't nobody coming to save you. You got to save yourself. Shit, I just had a breakthrough on this here motorcycle. You know what? I think it's time for a wrap up, because I need to ponder upon that real quick. Because my whole life I just been like, shit happens. Got to save myself. Maybe I just wanted to end on some real fancy high note. But for real though, that's I'm out.